Hello, it's Scott Bassett, the Understanding Narcissists YouTube channel. This episode is going to build off the previous episode on narcissists being momentary and not comprehensive in their thinking by delving into another necessary part of their illusion, which is that narcissists always try to couch themselves, position themselves in logic and reason, and that everything, and under the assumption that everything they do is done on a rational basis, that it's very reasonable, and not on an emotional or irrational basis. So, why do they do this, and what does it do for them? So, in the logical setting, it provides the logical guise, I should say, the facade. It provides a defensive way in order to guard themselves in whatever they're doing by putting it behind a logical reason. And there are a few ways it provides legitimate ways of hurting you. So let's look at the defensive first, because the defensive is very important. I don't see tackled in a lot of literature, which is narcissists are very careful, because they've been abused, to take steps that allow them to get what they need from you without you being able to counter them, especially with their own methods, but also in any other conceivable way which would make you look legitimate and concerned and the good person, and they the bad person. Because remember, it really is the way this game is played. There's a lot of different ways to look at it, but how it makes you feel, what it comes down to is somebody's good, therefore somebody else is bad. The other people are bad. And you want to be good and look like you're good and get everything you want, the praise, the credit, whatever, without being the bad. And whoever is the bad is the loser. And it's like I said in the previous video, there's the controlled and there's the controller. And you've got to pick one. You've got to be a controller or else you're going to be controlled. That's what's in their head. I'm going to talk more about that in future videos because that's another huge topic. But in this setting, the logical setting, it first provides a defensive means, a way to control you, while guarding themselves so that they can't be exposed. It protects the illusion. It protects their self-image. So, how does it do that? Well, if you think about it, you can already kind of intuitively understand why it does that. In itself being logical, it appears legitimate. It appears reasonable. It's all kind of in the words. Now, I want to put forward too that the problems they create, that they have a logical argument for to approach you, have a conflict and have a problem and blame you for, just because there's a logical cover for it, it's just a cover, it's just a mask. It doesn't actually mean that they didn't create the problem in the first place. It doesn't mean that they aren't guilty as charged, as we know they are. But in that instance, in that moment, they appear innocent. They appear guilt-free. Well, they're entitled, so they always feel like they're guilt-free. And so therefore they can't be the force behind it or the person that generated the problem to begin with. Also, how the logic works is that the logic is kind of grating and annoying because it's not really logic. They like to sit in logic and then try to use it to make you emotional. And then once they get to that point, they feel very superior because the illusion is supported, it's actualized. You're flippant or upset or whatever because they're being unreasonable. But to the outside eye, it looks like, you're losing your head. They're trying to console you or reason with you, and you just won't have it. Basically, you look like them. You look like them, how they are internally. And so in that approach, it protects them, it gets you, It actualizes the illusion. They think they're kind of these perfect sort of computing machines. Because remember, I don't know if I've said this before, but I'll go into it in future videos, being that narcissism, when it really comes down to it, is an emotional processing disorder. Now, there could be other physiological, biological things that I'm not considering, that just because emotional processing is kind of a conceptual thing, but as a conceptual thing, it's enormously powerful, because I found that it does kind of totally encapsulate what's wrong with them, and it is accurate in describing their issues. Now, moving on, we've got the logic down, so they're logical. That necessarily means that they're not illogical, irrational, or emotional. Remember, trying to escape from their emotions, not how they really feel, what's really driving their pursuit of you, their abuse of you, their day-to-day lives, everything they do to survive, is that emotional undercurrent that is not coming out. But it has to come out somehow, some way. And again, it comes out in the way that I just illustrated, which is you losing your head, you getting upset, you blowing off the steam makes them feel so much better. It's your fault. They're not the ones feeling that way. You are. They're able to transmit that to you, how awful they feel, and then you have to express it some way. Because you don't have all those mechanisms to keep everything down. You don't have all those excuses to bottle everything up and take it out on other people. You don't have sophisticated mechanisms of escaping yourself and how you feel. And that's a good thing. You don't want to have that. That's a bad thing, to be like them. Now, the natural extension of what I just said is, well, if they feel all that, why do they express it in the opposite direction? Well, why don't they express it directly? Why does it come across as they're cool, calm, not flippant, very logical, very well thought out, maybe erudite even? But in this setting, what we're seeing when they approach that hard line logical argument, where they want to talk about the issues and not how people feel or how people are treating each other, because there's certainly no abuse going on in their house. That's not abuse. They just have a legitimate problem, you see. It's not about them making people feel bad or trying to pawn off their problems onto other people. It's about whatever the particular issue is, the logical basis. Here's where the polar opposite principle comes in. And I'm not sure I understand the opposites principle entirely. I've just, from observation and reading, but especially experience and observation, it never fails me. However they feel, when it comes up, however bad they feel, whatever they come across as, it's the opposite of how they really feel, like the polar opposite. And the reason I know that is because when everything breaks down, they have their own little breakdown or own little fit, you can see that it was true the entire time. So that's why I always hold that so close to the chest, because it's very, very simple, and it's very, very true. I have not seen an exception. Their response to how they feel is to express the exact opposite. Maybe it's because they're like children. Maybe, I'm not sure exactly what it is. Maybe I'll figure it out one day. But as an observed fact, almost, unless I'm misinterpreting it, which I don't think I am, because I just see it time and time again, that is always the case. However they feel, they express the opposite. And that's how I've kind of taken the logical argument to be. Because they're not logical. They're irrational. They've got raging emotions to feel all these terrible things, and they've got to find some way to get that out. You can't do it legitimately by frantically running around and yelling at people, which, well, I'll get into later videos, they do that as well when they have to, as a last-ditch effort. But I hope that sheds some light. I'll probably talk more about that subject in the future. So thanks for watching. Like this video. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And share anything you think someone else might benefit from. So thank you, and have a wonderful day. Bye.